Gori Cuddly Carnage was a game that was recently announced for the Switch at the Guerrilla Collective Showcase during Summer Games Fest, and it immediately caught my attention. Just a badass murder kitty that's accompanied by a weaponized hoverboard, and really, what more could you want? Well, I was actually lucky enough to meet with the team over at Wired Productions when they were in town, and today I want to tell you all about it. My name's Alex, so this is SwitchCorner, and if you do enjoy the video today, consider subscribing, it helps us out a huge amount. So full transparency, the footage you see today is from a PC build of the game, though they have promised a dedicated window for that Switch port. I just wanted to introduce you to it because this thing I loved when I got hands on, and you can now too as well if you head over to Steam where the demo is available. In the opening level of this demo, we are introduced to the main cast of characters that will accompany us on this adventure. Now our protagonist, Gori, the murder kitty, of course takes center stage, but joining them is Frank, a hoverboard with a child lock that constantly gets censored because he swears too much, and then we also have a Chip, an AI that controls our ship and complains near constantly. While the demo doesn't reveal much about the overall story, it does give us the basics. Our ship has been destroyed, we find ourselves on a planet, presumably Earth, and basically an army of cute and cuddly toys, they've come to life, taken over, and they've wiped out humankind in the process. These adorable creatures have basically gone on a rampage, eliminating anything they deem not cuddly enough. However, we might just have the power to fight back thanks to, I guess, this arsenal of skills our characters do possess. What it does do this story, however, or at least this demo, it showcases the game's fantastic humour, and I'm sure many will see almost an air of Conker's Bad Fur Day in here. What appealed to me when I first saw the gameplay was you're basically just flying all over the place on your hoverboard at a fast speed that also doubles as a weapon. It almost looks like Tony Hawk's, except pulling tricks is gone unless it's to decapitate someone in your vicinity. This footage they showed me as well on the demo that I did get hands on with, you know, it suggests they may be onto a very good thing here, and I think that's really down to one thing. This is a game that's not going to challenge you with over complex controls, rather it's kind of putting the power in your hands and saying go crazy, and crazy I did go. So this demo is essentially a tutorial level for the most part, so it definitely eases you in, but we quickly learn we can jump, double jump, we can boost, we can grind on rails or different wall panels, we can of course attack as well with both a light and heavy attack, and we can even boost these attacks. In the initial examples I saw, one turns you into, let's call it a brutal whisk of sorts, and the other then is a slam maneuver. Now these definitely could deem you completely overpowered if it was consistent, but they've definitely been smart with the design. You'll see two health bars at the top of the screen, the upper left is our life, the right is going to be Frank, and this is essentially a stamina meter for these special attacks. This drains extremely quickly, but is also refilled by nearly any action. Health then is restored by picking up health drinks that are scattered around the world, and yeah, this is not a game with regeneration, which I think suits it perfectly. It's going to add at least a minor element of danger into the action. What I enjoy the most so far though is the level of creativity you can get up to in the combat, that combination of hoverboard and attack patterns. You know, it's not just button mashing here, but it makes you want to experiment. My favourite moments were grinding a rail while spinning, decapitating unicorns around me. And yes, you definitely heard that right, unicorns. But then it also introduced the boss, a spider-like pop-up toy, who wouldn't really allow me to simply charge in, so I had to be a tiny bit more strategic, and I actually found a really good attack line using a grind rail. One thing this demonstration also introduced though was the idea of evolving enemies. We start with the base unicorns, they are purely cannon fodder, but by the end of it, only maybe, I guess 15 minutes later, they had guns for arms, knives for arms, shields, and each would demand something different from me. For example, the shield could only be destroyed with my heavy attack, ensuring it doesn't simply devolve into a button smash fest. It's funny as well, I came in with that idea of almost Tony Hawk's with violence in my head, but by the end of the game, it actually reminded me more of Jet Set Radio because the movement is so quick, you can change direction in a split second. Sure, there's no spray painting unless you count the blood of our foes on the walls, but yeah, either way, the comparison would be a compliment. What I'm trying to say is the controls here feel great, they're responsive, the combat feels heavy, the combat abilities are impressive as well, and that movement is absolutely fantastic. If I did have any problems with the gameplay, there was one area that was a little long, honestly, an arena where you see waves of enemies flocking in, but Wired actually assured me on this scene has been dialed back for the final release, and that was good to hear. It was almost, I guess, too much of a good thing where it outstayed the initial adrenaline burst it gave me. Basically, I was ready to move on before the game was. Aside from that though, what else have I seen? I didn't get to experiment with it too much beyond that, but there are collectibles both in the form of keys and currency. There are upgrades, which I briefly got to experiment with, and you will see them at the end of the demo. There appears to be a ton to unlock there as well, and then there is a difficulty options as well. These range from easy to hard. I've been told with the difficulty, the game basically ups the enemy count more than anything else between difficulty options, and this makes sense. Yes, the game is still a way off, so that could definitely change, but you don't want bullet sponges in a game like this, and you want things like the connection to rails with a hoverboard to be forgiving, because that's basically what makes you feel like a badass. There's also a comprehensive photo mode as well, and if that's your thing, you're going to be happy here. We can change angle, assume, add filters, remove characters, change blood, just all sorts, add logos. I was playing with it for a good while. I've never been much into the whole taking screenshots side of gaming, but it definitely has its audience, and they will definitely like what they find here. Visually, it's impressive. Seeing it in motion, the world is incredibly vibrant. I imagine this would look fantastic on the OLED, but the real question is, can they get it to perform on the Switch? And it appears, as I said at the opening, they're taking the right approach. They've got dedicated time specifically for this Switch port. What I can tell you at this point though is the game is looking good. The character animations are fantastic throughout. Gori moves with a ton of flexibility. Frank the board has different expressions. Just tiny little things like that make a big difference. You can actually change it as well during photo mode, which I thought was fantastic. The enemies look good. I know there's going to be a huge amount more to come as well. But yeah, come on, a unicorn with blades for arms is absolutely inspired. Also, I expected things like glitter or something else for blood. You know, after all, they are toys, but nope, they went all out with red splashes that absolutely cover the screen, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The world also has some minor destruction as well, such as cars that can be cut in half, though the split always happens in the same place. I'd love to see that change by the end of the game, because it's definitely a little, I guess, say unrealistic in a game about killer toys, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Also as well, we appear to have a hub location, so I'm gonna guess we could see maybe some customization options for Frank, and if that's not in there already and the team is watching this video, it absolutely should be. Audio finally, and the voice acting is solid. Frank talks near non-stop, but it's actually been entertaining so far, not too annoying. Gori only meows, and I was particularly entertained by Chip's almost down in his luck delivery. Enemies then are incredibly manic in the voice department, and the combat sounds, environmental effects, and music are top quality, and this far they've basically just elevated the destruction and drived up that intensity. So again, this was a PC build that the team shared with me, and then I did get to go hands-on with the Steam demo myself as well, but I wanted to give it a little shout out because this should have people excited. It's such a unique idea, a killer kitten that's accompanied by a lethal and somehow psychotic hoverboard. The story has a ton of potential as well, almost think Toy Story gone wrong. And really the big question's going to be, can the Switch port deliver an experience that is stable, and will those visuals translate over? I hope so, because this, again, I've said it before, is going to look absolutely fantastic on the OLED if they can get it to where it needs to be. So what do you think of Gori? Has it got you sitting up and paying attention? Let me know in the comments. Again, then thanks to Wired for taking the time to meet with me. All sorts of things went wrong that day. An event that basically failed. We ended up sitting in a hotel lobby and running through this. But with that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, news, lists and previews daily. And I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.